Nothing looked out of place as she made her way into the home. The hallway walls were pristine and white. The only decorations were a woven wall hanging and a rug from the United Nations. Naughty Mr. Underwood, dodging the trade embargo with the Native Americans. He was going to get a slap on the wrist for that, if he still had wrists. It looked normal, but the smell. She knew that smell far too intimately to relax. There was a metallic tinge to it, like raw meat mingled with the unique, sickly sweet stench of a punctured bowel. The smell was coming from the doorway to the right. Glancing through, Sully took in an equally pristine dining room and a doorway hung with a beaded curtain that appeared to lead to the kitchen. She did not want to go into the kitchen. That was where the corpse stink was strongest. Sully startled at the sound of a footstep above her, a leather-soled shoe squeaking against polished wood. She readied her borrowed sword and crept up the stairs, straining her ears to catch any sound of movement, any warning of what she was about to encounter. She heard something completely unexpected. First, a little sob, and just at the edge of her senses, 2 heartbeats. Then, the unmistakable sound of steel biting into wood. Sully ran up the remaining stairs, her sword at the ready, the glow of spellfire lighting her way. There was a corridor at the top of the stairs, and some remnant of sanity made her creep along it instead of running. She came to a corner and halted. There was ragged breathing just around it, and the regular thumping of metal into wood that gradually ground to a halt. Sully had heard demons speak before. They rarely had anything smart to say, being more interested in screeching elaborate threats. But when they did speak, it sort of sounded like a squid gargling rocks. The voice from around the corner didn't sound like a demon's. It sounded like a chorus of screaming voices all trying to squeeze through one mouth.
"We can smell you, little witch."
There was a staggering footstep.
"Come out and play."
Whatever this was, Sully had never heard anything like it before. She took a steadying breath, then stepped around the corner. It was a man, presumably Mr. Underwood. His clothes hung loosely on his body, everything slightly out of place. His thinning hair had fallen out of its greasy comb-over and was dangling off the side of his lolling head. He moved in a series of twitches. The overall impression was of a broken toy. In his hand was a kitchen knife, a big steely one that was stained with blood. The door behind him was covered in wild slashes, but he had not managed to break through. Sully took another deep breath, and his head jerked around to follow the sound. Although his eyes didn't seem to lock on to her, his mouth flapped open and that noise came out again.
"Tell your masters. Tell them that we are coming back."
Sully leveled her sword at him and hoarsely whispered, "Drop the weapon." His head rolled on his shoulders, and his face twisted into an almost comical rictus, like he was noticing the bloody knife in his hand for the first time. Sully heard a sound like the wind rustling leaves, and slowly realized it was meant to be a laugh. He took one staggering step forward, arms dangling limp at his sides. That was all the provocation Sully needed. She darted forward and thrust the sword into his chest, close to the heart, if not straight through it. She felt the blade glance off a rib and lodge solidly in one of the bones in his back. When she couldn't tug it free and he wasn't falling, she leapt back, freeing her hands in case she needed them. The man looked down at the sword sticking out of his chest with all signs of amusement. He took another dragging step towards her and hissed,
"It is the year of the knife."
Then he collapsed. He wasn't bleeding properly yet. It was pooling under him, but it wasn't gushing out the way that it should be. Sully shuddered, then quickly let all of her spells unwind before they knocked her out.